Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of Grassroots Racer. I look forward to speaking to tonight's guest. Not only does she do custom branding, digital print design, specializing in motorsport, she's also written a book, and it's involving a great initiative called Therapy on Wheels, which is a registered charity who has taken passengers in a supercharged Hellcat Mercedes Benz to raise awareness and improve the well-being of cancer patients and their families. So to find out more, I welcome Andy to the show. So how are you tonight, Andy?
Hi, I'm good, thank you. Thank you for having me on.
It's a pleasure to have you. And like I said just before, your story is amazing. And I love chatting to all different types of people involved in motorsport. So, how did you get into motorsport?
I used to, I really enjoyed watching it. And then some friends of mine needed a little bit of help with their branding. They were drag racing in the lower classes, just in Super Street. And so I started helping out, and my hubby and I started helping out more and more on their team. And then one day they decided that they didn't want to race anymore, but by then the bug had well and truly bit. So we decided to go and buy our own race car and go racing ourselves.
Yeah, that's incredible. So with the drag racing car as your first car, I'm guessing, your first
Yep.
race car, do you remember the feeling the first time you made a pass?
Before I left the start line, shaky, nervous, feeling pretty sick in the stomach. As I crossed the finish line, couldn't wipe the smile off my face. Really excited, shaky again, but this time from adrenaline. And yeah, just really, really wanted to go again and again and again and again.
Mm-hmm. And, obviously that would have all happened in maybe, I'm guessing, about 6 seconds. What did you like most about drag racing when you were racing?
Well, I'm not quite as quick as 6 seconds. My first race car was between 8 and 9 seconds, so still pretty quick. Um, and um, there's lots of things that I like about it. I do like the feeling of going fast, but because it's such a quick race, there's a lot of other things about just being around all the motorsport people, and messing around with the car in the shed and all of that sort of stuff as well. It's sort of that whole mix of stuff that I enjoy.
Yeah, racing is very fun when it all goes right because, as we know, it can all go wrong.
It can do, yeah.
But unfortunately, you had to put your racing on hold when you were unfortunately diagnosed with cancer and you underwent treatment. It must have been really tough for you and your family. So, how did racing and motorsport help you through that time?
So, on my good days, when I was going through chemo and that, I would actually just sit in my car. I'd sit in the car. It was sitting on the hoist. It was in the shed, and I would just sit there. And anyone who has a race car knows that it sort of has a special smell about it. All the tire smell and that fuel smell and
Mm.
everything. And I would just sit there and I'd soak it up and I'd close my eyes and just have that smell. And that was a good feeling. Um, and on really good days, I'd actually go down to the racetrack. I'd hang out with other friends and I'd support other friends that were racing. And if I couldn't, then I'd just get on the internet broadcast and I'd watch it and I'd send them messages and stuff like that. Um, but just yeah, hanging out with friends and just knowing that I was going to get back in the
Mm.
in the driver's seat.
So obviously, you were very committed, like I'm gonna get back on track soon and you knew the time would come. So I'm so glad the treatment went well for you and you've achieved so
Thank you.
much since then. So when did you write the book about your experience?
It took quite a few years after because I wasn't really ready to share the whole story. A lot of it was personal stuff that came out of my diary that I was keeping. And I was keeping a blog at the time as well, so it was sort of easy to go back and have a look at. Um, And then a few people convinced me that it needed to be turned from a blog into a proper book. So it took me quite a few years to write it, but finally got there.
Yeah, 100%. And you came out and you released some personal information, which can be very hard, but I'm so glad that you were able to express yourself a little bit. And you've also got your own business. You run your own business, custom branding and printing. Have you been doing that for a while now?
Absolutely. I started doing that as soon as I left school. So I actually left school in year 11. So I didn't make it all the way through. Because in the Christmas holidays in year 11, I actually got offered an apprenticeship working for a newspaper and started off then. So, yeah, so I've been doing it for, a long time.
And as well as your business, you're also involved in an awesome charity called Therapy on Wheels. Can you share a bit more about what the charity does and your involvement?
So, a couple of years ago, we had a bit of a discussion about selling the race car and getting a new one because I'd had it. I'd been racing the same car for about 10 years, so it was time for a change. And we decided that we'd like to share what I got out of motorsport to other people going through a similar situation. So the idea was to build a custom-built, brand new car, something that nobody else had ever done before, and actually have it set up to take passengers for a ride down the drag strip. So we chose a car that hadn't been on the drag strip before, which is the Mercedes Benz that you can see in the background.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, set it up with all the safety gear and everything so that I can take it racing, but I can also race it with the passenger.
Yeah, that's it's really cool to see what you've done, and you've highlighted so many things that the business and the charity, your business and the charity have you've been able to do with as the support with families and as well as patients. It can be a stressful time for everyone. So the smiles that on people's faces must make you also smile just a little bit.
Absolutely. It's a really good feeling looking over at the passenger. You only just get to see their eyes through the helmet, but you can see somebody is smiling with their eyes. It's a very good feeling.
And just also, as we mentioned earlier, you used the supercharged Hellcat Mercedes Benz to take people for a ride or two. Which track do you normally take them to? And what's the Hellcat like to drive?
We take the passengers down at the Kwinana Motorplex. For anybody that's not in WA, that's our only drag racing track in Western Australia. And the Hellcat, it's supercharged. It's she's she's a nice, smooth pussycat.
And the what sort of feedback have you had from people who've been in the ride in the car?
Yeah, the passenger is usually very, very nervous when they first get in the car, and then as they're crossing the finish line, they're punching the air with absolute joy and full of smiles and happiness and desperately wanting to do it again.
And what sort of made you guys decide to put such a powerful engine in the Mercedes?
Probably the easy answer is because nobody else has done it before. This particular Mercedes Benz, the 2004 Daimler Chrysler were merged with Mercedes Benz, and they were only merged as companies just for a couple of years. So it made sense to put a Chrysler engine in the Mercedes Benz. So the Hellcat Hemi made perfect sense to put that in there. Although it's a pretty tight fit, and we had to do a lot of modifications.
A lot of modifications, or a couple?
Oh yeah, there's been a lot of modifications. So even the firewall had to be moved to be able to fit it in. So it's yeah, it's pretty tight squeeze.
Yeah, I can imagine because Mercedes are meant to have Mercedes engines in them, but it's obviously very cool how you've managed to put American muscle in there. So it's also fantastic what you do just in general, and it's also important to share awareness and support people who are going through a tough time. And it's great to see you're doing it in such a fun way as well. Is there any new events coming up soon?
Um, well, the track's closed for winter, so we won't be out there for a few months. But I do next week. I will be on show at the Wanneroo Business Expo. And I think just, yeah, follow our social medias, search Therapy on Wheels. We're everywhere. And keep up to date with where we are and what we're doing. We always put it out there as to what's happening and what events we'll be at.
Hmm.
I'm sure there'll be some good displays as soon as the weather clears up again.
Yeah, that was my next question about the social media. So, do you guys have a website as well, or a platform that people can go on to support or donate to the charity?
Yes, therapyonwheels.asn.au is our website. And then we're on all the social medias, TikTok, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. And the easiest way is just to search Therapy on Wheels or hashtag Therapy on Wheels, and you'll find us. We're all over the place.
Yeah, so virtually anywhere, guys. So, make sure you look them up. Even if you can't donate or anything, just make sure you have a look at the page, even follow, and just see what they're doing. Keep up with the amazing content that you guys are putting out. Do you have a car or track on your bucket list still that you'd like to drive in, or in Australia?
I would like to make it over east to some of the racetracks over there. And I was at the Darwin racetrack, the drag racing strip when it first opened. So I'd like to go back there and actually race it as well.
If you could, it'd be quite cool to see you go there when the supercars normally go there for the Triple Crown. Um,
Mm.
but have you also got a place overseas, or are you just planning on staying in Australia?
I don't think we'd manage to get the car overseas, but I would like to just go over and watch. I can't remember which track it is, but the US has a four-lane drag racing track, and I'd like to go and see Top Fuel's four Top Fuel cars going all at the same time. I think would be insane.
Yeah, I do think it would be quite it's hard to see four top fuelers going down a drag strip at the same time. So four lanes is actually quite interesting. But just do you have any advice for anyone who's ever thought about getting into motorsport, but haven't had the courage or didn't know how to start?
Just the all the time. There's a lot of teams, and even the tracks are always looking for helpers and volunteers. And the best way is to get in by helping out. And you can get in with a team on the ground floor, and you just get to know it. After a while, you get to pick up what sort of area that you're interested in. Not everybody's interested in being a driver. My husband has no interest whatsoever in being a driver. He loves doing the mechanics. If you want to be in the media or in the commentators box or something like that, there's plenty of opportunities out there. So
Mm.
yeah, if you've got an interest, check it out. Don't be afraid to ask somebody if they want a hand.
Yeah, 100%. Not motorsport's not just about driving because you need all these other people to make racing happen. So, if you don't particularly want to drive but you love motorsport, there's obviously lots of doors you can go down. And
Absolutely.
just quickly, I also found the tracks in America. So there's two. There's ZMAX Race Dragway and the strip in Las Vegas. They're currently two with four lanes.
Cool. Yeah, it's the Z Max that I was thinking of. So yeah, definitely.
And do you think there is book number 2 on the way because you're doing so much at the moment? And do you have any goals that you want to achieve?
I often do think about doing another book, but I'm not quite sure what story I want to tell yet. But I did think about doing a similar story, but aimed at the little kids. Something maybe that brings in some of my art and drawing and that sort of thing as well. Maybe something about being a race car driver.
Yeah, 100%. And it's been incredible hearing your story tonight, Andy. And, you've been one of the most inspiring, motivated people I've met. I've had another patient on here who has, recovered from cancer, luckily not too long ago. And, he's doing great now. He's racing supercarts. So I, I really see how, recovering and getting straight back into the motorsport is a really great thing. And I have full respect for everything you've gone through and everything you've achieved so far with helping people put a smile on their face and have some fun to forget about the stress in their lives.
No, I was just going to say you've got to find a good outlet to help you get through those tough times, and yeah, sometimes motorsport is it.
Yeah, 100%. It's different for everyone, but once you get a bite of the racing bug, you can't stop. In my in my eyes. And everyone, remember, if you can support Therapy on Wheels, please go give them a follow or donate to help some other people who really need it. And I love how passionate you are about motorsport, Andy, and you haven't let anything get in the way of that. So thanks so much for sharing your story tonight. And for anyone else out there who might be racing this weekend, remember to drive fast and take chances. Drive fast and take chances safely, of course.
Thank you.
Thanks, Andy.